For 10 years, I had built my life around sacrifice. Long nights, missed birthdays, quiet dinners alone. All of it was for us, for the future, my wife. And I had promised each other when we were young, broke, and full of dreams. Her name is Vanessa, and loving her had never felt like a burden until that night. It started as a simple idea. Vanessa had been traveling more frequently for work lately. Her company trusted her with big deals, sending her to different cities almost every month. I was proud of her, more than proud. She had worked hard to get there. But somewhere along the way, something had changed. Her calls became shorter. Her texts became colder. Her laughter, once effortless, began to feel forced. At first, I told myself I was overthinking. Marriage does that sometimes. Life gets busy. People get tired. But deep down, there was this quiet voice I couldn't ignore. Something wasn't right. So when she told me she'd be in a nearby city for 3 days, I made a decision. I was going to surprise her. Not because I suspected something terrible, but because I wanted to fix whatever was slipping between us. I wanted to remind us of who we used to be. The drive to the hotel felt longer than it actually was. I remember gripping the steering wheel tighter than usual, rehearsing how it would go. She'd open the door. Her eyes would widen. She'd smile. That real smile I hadn't seen in months. And she'd say my name like it still meant something. I even stopped by a small shop and bought her favorite chocolates. It felt silly, but also important. By the time I arrived at the hotel, night had already fallen. The building stood tall and elegant, glowing softly under the streetlights. People moved in and out, business travelers, couples, strangers with stories of their own. I parked, took a deep breath, and stepped out. This was it. Inside, the lobby smelled faintly of polished wood and something floral. I approached the front desk, trying to keep things casual. "Hi," I said, offering a polite smile. "I'm here to see my wife, Vanessa Carter. She checked in earlier today." The receptionist glanced at her computer, then back at me. "Room 614, she said. "Simple. Too simple." I thanked her and turned toward the elevators. Each step felt heavier than the last. By the time I reached the 6th floor, my heart was already racing. The hallway was quiet, dimly lit, almost too quiet. Room 614 was at the end. Every step toward it felt like walking into something I couldn't yet understand. But I kept going, because that's what you do when you love someone. You keep going, even when something inside you whispers to stop. I finally stood in front of the door. 614. I stared at it for a moment. Then I smiled to myself. "Relax," I whispered under my breath. "You're about to make her happy." I adjusted my jacket, picked up the chocolates, and reached for the door. But just before I knocked, I heard something. A voice, not hers. A man's voice. Muffled. Low. Close. My hand froze midair. I leaned in slightly, my heart beginning to pound louder than anything else. Then I heard her. Vanessa. Soft. Familiar, but different. The tone in her voice. It wasn't the one she used with me anymore. It was lighter, warmer, intimate, and then a quiet laugh. The kind she used to have with me. My chest tightened. "No," I whispered. "Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it was a colleague. Maybe—" Then the man spoke again. Closer this time. And what he said made the world around me feel like it had just stopped. "You don't have to go back to him," he murmured. Silence followed. A long, heavy silence. The kind that stretches just enough to break something inside you. Then Vanessa answered. And her voice? It wasn't uncertain. It wasn't confused. It was calm. Clear. Certain. "I know," she said softly. Something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Like glass breaking in another room. I stepped back from the door, my breath suddenly uneven. My mind was racing, trying to piece together what I had just heard, but every thought felt like it was slipping through my fingers. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. Vanessa wouldn't. But the voices continued. Soft, close, familiar in a way that made my stomach twist. I shouldn't have stayed. I should have walked away, but I didn't. Because a part of me needed to hear more, needed to understand how the woman I had given everything to had somehow become a stranger standing on the other side of that door. Huh! I leaned in again, and this time I heard something that made my knees feel weak. A whisper, followed by the sound of movement. Then, her voice again, lower, closer. "I'm tired of pretending," she said. Huh! That was the moment everything changed. Not when I heard the man. Not when I realized she wasn't alone. But right then, because it wasn't confusion anymore. It wasn't doubt. It was truth. Raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. Huh! I stood there, frozen. The chocolate slipped slightly in my hand. The surprise I had planned. The love I had carried all the way here. It all felt meaningless now. Like I had been living in a version of reality that only existed for me. Huh! Inside the room, something shifted again. A soft thud. Footsteps. Closer to the door. My heart jumped. For a split second, I thought she might open it. That she might see me standing there. That everything would explode in one uncontrollable moment. But the footsteps stopped. And the silence returned. Huh! I stepped back slowly. My breathing uneven. My thoughts louder than ever. I had come here to fix my marriage. To surprise my wife. To remind her of us. But now, I wasn't even sure there was an us anymore. Huh! I looked at the door one last time. Room 614. The number burned into my mind. Behind it was the truth. A truth I wasn't ready for, but one I could no longer ignore. Huh! And as I stood there trying to gather the strength to either knock or walk away, one question echoed in my head louder than anything else. How long had this been going on? The sound behind that door didn't stop. It wasn't just laughter anymore. It was familiar. Too familiar. My hand hovered inches from the handle, frozen in a moment that felt stretched, between two different lives, the one I believed in and the one waiting to destroy me. I told myself I was overthinking, that there was a simple explanation, that maybe she had colleagues over. Maybe it was just harmless. But deep down, something darker had already taken root, because I knew that laugh. I had heard it before, late at night, soft, intimate, the kind of laugh that doesn't belong in a business meeting. My chest tightened. And then I heard his voice, low, confident, comfortable, like he belonged there, like he had every right to be behind that door with my wife. That was the moment everything inside me shifted. Not broke, shifted. Because something in me already knew the truth, even before I saw it. Still, I opened the door, slowly, silently. And what I saw on the other side didn't just hurt me, it erased me. She was standing near the window, back turned slightly toward the door, hair loose, wearing something I had never seen before. Not business attire, not anything she would wear for work. Something softer, more personal, more intimate. And him. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, relaxed, shoes off, like he had been there for hours. Like this wasn't new, like this was normal, for them. My wife turned first, and when her eyes met mine, everything stopped. The smile on her face didn't fade instantly. That's what hurt the most. It lingered for a fraction of a second, like she hadn't yet realized she had been caught. Then it disappeared, replaced by something I had never seen before. Not guilt, not fear. Something worse. Recognition, like she knew this moment was inevitable, like she had been expecting it someday. Just not today. "You're early," she said. Those were her first words. Not, "What are you doing here?" Not, "This isn't what it looks like." Just, "You're early." And suddenly I felt like the outsider, like I had walked into their space, like I didn't belong in my own marriage. I looked at him, and that's when the second shock hit me, because I knew him. Not a stranger. Not some random guy. No, this was someone who had been in my life. Someone I had trusted. Someone who had sat at my table. Someone who had shaken my hand, looked me in the eyes, and smiled. And now he was here, half-dressed, in a hotel room, with my wife. Neither of them spoke. The silence stretched so long it became unbearable. "Say something," I finally said, my voice barely holding together. She sighed. Actually sighed, like this was inconvenient, like I was the problem. "I was going to tell you," she said. Those words hit harder than anything else, because they meant one thing. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't sudden. This wasn't accidental. This was planned. Ongoing. Real. "How long?" I asked. She hesitated, and in that hesitation, I got my answer. Don't lie, I added, my voice sharper now. Because right now, that's the only thing you can still control. How much more you choose to destroy. She looked down, then back at me. 8 months. 8 months. My mind couldn't process it. 8 months of lies. 8 months of business trips. 8 months of phone calls cut short. 8 months of me trusting her without question. And 8 months of them, this, I laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because my brain didn't know how else to react. 8 months, I repeated. That's almost a year. No one corrected me, because they knew it didn't matter. 8 months was already too long, too deep, too real. I looked at him again, waiting for him to say something. Anything. An apology, an explanation, a lie. But he just sat there, silent, like he had already accepted his role in this, like he knew no words would change what had already happened. And maybe he was right, because nothing could. Not anymore. Why? I asked her. Not yelling. Not angry. Just empty. And that seemed to affect her more than anything, because anger she could fight. But this silence, this calm, it scared her. I didn't plan for this, she said quietly. It just happened. I shook my head slowly. No, I replied. It didn't just happen for 8 months. She didn't respond. Because she couldn't. Because we both knew the truth. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Repeated again and again. Every time she packed her bags. Every time she kissed me goodbye. Every time she said, I love you. And suddenly all those memories started changing, rewriting themselves in my mind. Every moment now had a shadow. Every smile had a secret. Every word had a lie behind it. I felt sick. Not because of what I was seeing now, but because of everything I had missed before. All the signs. All the small things I ignored. Because I trusted her. Because I believed in us. Because I thought we were stronger than this. I took a step back. Then another. I should go, I said. She looked surprised. Wait! But I raised my hand. Not in anger. Just to stop her. Because I couldn't hear anything else. Not now. Not like this. If you say anything else right now, I said slowly, it won't fix anything. She went quiet. I turned toward the door. Each step felt heavier than the last. Behind me, I heard her voice. Desperate, breaking. Please don't leave like this. I paused. Just for a second, my hand resting on the door. Then I spoke without turning around. You already left. And with that, I walked out, not knowing that what would happen next would be even worse. I didn't go straight home. I couldn't. My car felt like a coffin, each mile pressing down on me with memories I wanted to burn. I drove aimlessly, streets blurring, neon lights reflecting in puddles like shattered glass. Every thought circled back to that room, her laugh, his smirk, the way they froze when I opened the door. That single moment replayed in my mind like a horror film on loop. But then, something nagged at me, something that didn't fit. If it had just been betrayal, it would have been simpler. Painful, yes, but simple. Her voice when she tried to explain didn't match the fear of a guilty woman. She was terrified, yes, but why? Why that intensity? Why that panic? I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more, something I wasn't seeing. I parked on an empty street and let the engine die. My phone vibrated. It was a message from her. Please, don't go. You have to know the truth. I didn't want you to find out like this. I stared at the screen. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the phone. I wanted to throw it, smash it, set it on fire. But a part of me, a small, fragile part, wanted to know. I typed back, explain now. The reply came almost instantly. I'm so sorry. You need to meet me. At the old pier, midnight, alone. The words made no sense. Why there? Why now? Why risk everything if she already knew I had seen them? But I knew one thing. I couldn't stay in the dark. I needed answers. The pier smelled of salt and rust. The fog rolled in thick, curling around the streetlights like ghostly fingers. I waited, every nerve on fire, every shadow a potential enemy. And then she appeared. Her hair was wet from the fog, her eyes red and wide. She looked different, vulnerable, terrified. I'm glad you came, she said, her voice trembling. You need to hear everything. Not just what you saw, the whole truth. I didn't move. I just stared. She swallowed hard. It's not what you think, what you heard. It's complicated, dangerous. I laughed bitterly. Dangerous. That's your excuse? Dangerous. She shook her head. No, listen. You have to understand. The man in that room, he's not just my colleague. He's involved in something I didn't want you to know. And me being there, it wasn't what it looked like. My stomach churned. So what? You're telling me I misread everything? That you didn't— No, she interrupted, grabbing my arm. Her grip was cold and urgent. I didn't want it to happen. But he's connected to people who would hurt us. If anyone knew you were coming, it could have been worse. I pulled my arm away, stumbling back. Worse? Worse than this? You mean lying to me? Sleeping with him? Tears streamed down her face. I had no choice. You have to believe me. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me? From what? From who? Before I could ask, she pressed a small envelope into my hand. Open it when you get home. It explains everything. Please, don't react until you read it. And then she ran, vanished into the fog. I stood there, shaking, clutching the envelope like it was the only thing keeping me from collapsing entirely. When I got home, I tore it open. Inside were photos. Not of her and him. Not intimate ones. Photos of meetings, secret exchanges, codes written on napkins, envelopes of cash, names of people I had never heard before, and a note. I never wanted you to see this. I never wanted you involved. But if you're reading this, it means I failed. Everything you think you saw. It was staged. I can explain in person. Trust no one. Not him, not them. Not even me, yet my head spun. Staged? The betrayal I had felt. Wasn't betrayal at all? Or maybe it was something far worse. Something that would destroy me before I even had the chance to understand it. I sank onto the couch, clutching the envelope, staring at the ceiling. Questions raced through me faster than I could process. Who could I trust? Who was she really? And why did everything feel like it was about to come crashing down in a way I couldn't stop? The clock ticked past 3 a.m. A sound outside my window made me jump. A shadow moving. Someone watching. And I realized whatever game she was playing, it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. This wasn't just a marriage torn apart. This was a war. And I had just been drafted. Morning came, but it felt like the world was ending. The sunlight crawling across my floor didn't comfort me. It mocked me. The envelope sat on the table, taunting me. I hadn't touched it since last night. Every instinct screamed, open it. Yet every fiber of my being screamed, don't. But curiosity, or maybe desperation, won. I tore it open again, forcing myself to look at the photos, the scribbled notes, the cash, names, dates, codes, meetings I'd never imagined. And then at the bottom, a message in her handwriting. If you confront anyone without knowing the full story, they will come after you. Start by finding out why he was there. My stomach dropped. The man, my best friend, he wasn't just betraying me. He was bait. I felt my phone vibrate. A message from an unknown number. Stop digging, or you're next. I froze. My pulse raced. Someone else knew I had seen the envelope. Someone was watching. It was then I realized the web wasn't just around my wife. It had spread to me. I had to know the truth. I had to confront him. I found him at the cafe we used to frequent, our old brotherhood spot. He looked exhausted, paranoid, scanning every corner like the world was about to end. I walked in. He stiffened. Sit, I said. He didn't. You were in her room, I said calmly, deadly calm. Don't lie. His face fell. I can't. You don't understand. I understand enough. You betrayed me, or maybe you didn't. Either way, you're in deep, and now I want to know how deep. He swallowed hard, finally sitting. He glanced around like someone was listening. It's not what it looked like. That night, she was protecting you. From them. From who? My voice shook. He hesitated. I can't say here. Too many ears. Too many eyes. You need to trust me just this once. She didn't cheat on you. She's involved in something bigger than both of you. Bigger than me. Bigger than anyone. My head spun. Bigger than anyone? Explain now. He leaned closer, voice low, urgent. There's a group, powerful, corrupt. They've been tracking her work for months. She stumbled upon something dangerous, something that could destroy lives. When you walked in that night, she was trying to contain it. That's why she panicked. That's why it looked like betrayal. My mind screamed. Lies or truth? Every nerve in me wanted to lash out. But another part, the part that loved her once, wanted to believe. Why involve me? I asked. He looked me in the eye. Because now, they know you've seen her. And if you don't act fast, you won't get a second chance. Suddenly, the cafe door burst open. Shadows moved fast. Men in dark suits, faces obscured. Run! My best friend yelled. I didn't move. Too late! They were on us! Shots rang out. Glass shattered. Chaos erupted. We dove behind tables, adrenaline screaming, my mind sharp as a blade. And in that moment, I understood. This wasn't just about betrayal. This was survival. The secrets she had kept were deadly. And now, because I had seen the door, because I had opened it, I was trapped. Trapped in a world where trust could kill you, where love could be a weapon, where the line between friend and enemy didn't exist. We ran into the alley behind the cafe, hearts hammering, lungs burning. Where is she? I demanded. He shook his head. Safe for now. But you have to trust me. If you want her alive, if you want answers, you follow my lead. No questions, no mistakes. I nodded, barely breathing. Because one thing was certain, my life, my marriage, my entire world had just changed, and there was no turning back. The night air was sharp, cutting through my lungs with every breath. We moved silently through deserted streets, shadows our only allies. Every step felt like stepping closer to a cliff, but I couldn't stop now. Not when the truth was so close I could almost touch it. He led me to an abandoned warehouse at the edge of the city. Rusted metal groaned under the wind. The kind of place nightmares are made of. She's here, he whispered. But so are they. We don't have much time. Inside, dim light flickered. Crates stacked like towers. And there, in the center, bound but alive, was her. My heart slammed against my ribs. Relief and terror collided. Don't move, a deep voice commanded from the shadows. From the darkness emerged several men in suits, faces cold, eyes like knives. And behind them, a familiar silhouette stepped forward. Not her, not my best friend, someone I never expected. It was the man I had thought I could trust, my wife's so-called colleague. He smiled, a slow, cruel smile. Welcome. I see you've been busy. My fists clenched. Let her go. He laughed. Or what? You've already dug too deep. You shouldn't have opened that door. My chest burned. Anger, fear, love, betrayal, all at once. And then I remembered the envelope, the notes, the photos, everything she had tried to protect me from. You want answers? I shouted, taking a step forward. Fine, tell me everything, or we all end up dead tonight. He paused, considering, then nodded slowly. You're smarter than I thought. Very well, everything you think you saw. It was a setup. Not to deceive, but to protect you. She stumbled onto a conspiracy. Powerful people trafficking information, money, secrets, things that could destroy nations. And she kept it from you to keep you safe. My mind reeled. Safe? By pretending to betray me? He shrugged. It was the only way. They trust her too much. If they suspected you knew, you'd be a target. I looked at her. She met my eyes, tears streaked, exhausted. I never wanted you involved, she whispered. I only wanted to keep you alive. And then my so-called best friend stepped forward. We have to move, now, or they take her and disappear, forever. Adrenaline surged. I grabbed a weapon from one of the crates. My hands shook, but my resolve hardened. We fought through them, shadows and fists colliding, desperate to survive. Each movement a blur, each second a lifetime. Finally, we cornered them. The last man froze. Silence fell. I stepped forward, weapon raised. It's over, I said, voice steady despite the chaos. He laughed. It's never over. Not in this world. But I didn't flinch. I didn't hesitate. I had already lost so much. Betrayal, trust, innocence. And yet I still had one thing they couldn't take. The truth. I lowered the weapon. Let her go. He hesitated. Then, slowly, he stepped back. The tension shattered. My wife collapsed into my arms, trembling, shaking, but alive. We didn't speak. Words felt meaningless. Our survival, our love, was now written in scars, in fear, in the memory of that night. Outside, dawn broke. The city was quiet, unaware of the storm that had raged in its shadows. I held her tightly, feeling the weight of everything that had almost destroyed us. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked softly. "Because I wanted you to live," she whispered, "even if it meant losing me in your eyes." I shook my head. "You don't lose me. Not now, not ever." And in that moment, after everything, the lies, the fear, the betrayal, the secrets, I realized the truth. Love isn't always safe. Love isn't always simple, but it's worth fighting for. Even when the world is against you, even when the door you open changes everything. The end,